Shalom, family. Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Mashiach Yahushai. All praise, all glory, all power to the Father of lights, Yahweh and his beloved Son, Yahushai. Peace and power to the throne of King David and to the sons, daughters, and the elect of Israel. All praises due. All praises due. A pleasure to be in your company again. I pray that y'all getting some edification off of these current event videos. More on the way right now. Um, I want to let this brother right here. He's a Muslim man, but I'll listen to him. I ain't gonna even lie to you. Truth is the truth, no matter who mouth it's coming out of, man. I don't care if it's a donkey. This dude here, I don't agree with everything you say, but 90% of it I do. Now, when it come to him and Allah and all that, then I could pass on that. But he's very well spoken and very well educated, man. Just listening to him talk, you'll see what I mean. I'm gonna let him play out, man. Maybe not all of it, but a good portion, and then I'll get some scripture to back up what he's saying. All right. So y'all just sit back. His name is Shahid Bolson. I believe he was born in America, raised in America, and then he was, switched over to converted to the Muslim religion from whatever he was in. But fuck what he believe. Just listen to what he say right now. All right. Cause this shit is spot on. All right. So here we go.
What else do you think that is? Besides violent colonization turning inward. You think this is about immigration law? You think ICE is enforcing laws? No. They are marauders and you are the loot. ICE is not a law enforcement agency. It is a mercenary force under contract to private corporations, hunting human beings for profit. That's all it is. That's exactly what it is. They work for the private prison industry. Your so-called immigration department is just a subsidiary. It's an interface for the private prison industry. That's what it is. That's what you turned it into. These aren't arrests that they're making. These are profit-making activities that they're engaged in. Every detention is a paycheck. Every deportation is a dividend. Do you understand? Corporate contractors like Geo Group, like Core Civic, they're making billions of dollars from these cages, from this trauma, from this misery, from this terror. This is modern slavery packaged as homeland security. Down home. ICE is just a corporate interface. It's not a government agency. It's not a government agency. It's a corporate interface. Its core operations, transport, detention, surveillance, those are all being handled by private contractors, by the Geo Group, by Core Civic, BI Incorporated, private charter airlines. None of these companies are deputized, but they're the de facto operators of everything that ICE is supposed to do. ICE is just a shell. All the corporations, that's the substance. ICE is just a logistics operator. Policy is being written by investors. Stocks spike for all of those private prison companies immediately following any anti-immigrant executive orders, any deportation orders. Investor briefings from Geo Group and from Core Civic and so on, they literally celebrate any policy shift that increases detentions and deportations. Look, this isn't correlation, this is causation. The logic of finance capital now dictates state coercion. If Wall Street sees profit in suffering, then policy is adjusted accordingly. You make business a no-go zone for democracy, a no-go zone for accountability and for any sort of restrictions or limitations and so on. And it grew and grew and grew in unchecked power until it captured your state. It's only about profit and it's only about growth. And like I said, they have captured your government, and that's how your whole country is run now. That's how your whole society is run now. And you should recognize that they never ever believed in so-called democracy. Like I said, you're witnessing the logistics arm of what can only really be called an ethnic cleansing operation outsourced to the highest bidder. Yes, I said ethnic cleansing because do you really believe that this isn't racial? Do you really think that this has anything whatsoever to do with someone's immigration paperwork? We know who they're targeting and we know why. And if you have any sense, you'll also understand that this practice is going to do nothing but expand, just like any business expands. That's what businesses do. It means they're going after immigrants now. This is a pilot project. They normalize it by targeting immigrants, but this is a profit-making endeavor. You'd have to be crazy to think that they're not going to multiply their revenue streams by targeting other demographics. Non-citizens and citizens, so-called minorities, members of the global majority, the poor, the homeless, the protesters. This doesn't go anywhere but expansion. They've turned immigration enforcement into a business model. They've turned it into a supply chain. You've got militarized raids rounding up immigrants like livestock, funneling them into for-profit prisons, slapping electronic shackles on their ankles, and shipping them out on corporate charter flights like Amazon parcels. I mean, they literally said that. They literally said that they want to run deportations like Amazon Prime. That wasn't satire. That was the ICE director's actual analogy. And you know what? He wasn't inaccurate. He was being accurate. Does Amazon care what's in the box? No, neither does ICE. They don't care what's in the box. You're not a person, you're inventory. Now you may think, well, I'm not undocumented, so this isn't my problem. Wrong. Because this isn't just about who's being deported, it's about why this is being done the way it's being done in the first place. It's about who's in line next time when the migrants are not enough to satisfy the profit potential.
Now, didn't I tell y'all you was property? If you booyah'd up, y'all heard what he said, right? All right.
Of their model. You understand me? The infrastructure right now is being built today. The data surveillance, the AI-powered raids, the indefinite detention laws, the elimination of due process, the criminalization of entire populations. This isn't going to stop with immigrants. You'd be crazy to think it is. Like I said, this is just a pilot project. It's going to be used on you. It's going to be used on your protesters. It's going to be used on your political dissidents. It's going to be used on whoever refuses to comply. It's a system of repression, not immigration. They're using wartime laws from 1798 to deport people without hearings. Wartime laws? What war? I don't see any war except for the one that the government itself is waging on their own population. And they're waging that on behalf of nothing but the private sector, on behalf of the empire of capital, yes. Understand what I'm saying? Your country has been conquered. I don't know what you think I mean when I say that your country has been captured, and your state has been captured. It's been conquered. It's been conquered by corporate power. But what does that make ICE? It's a colonial mercenary force, nothing, no more, no less. They don't protect communities, they invade communities and steal people. Where have we seen that before? I said they're marauders. This isn't law enforcement. I mean, let me say this with absolute clarity. The United States is in breach of international law. The UN has said it, human rights experts have said it, legal scholars have said it. Deporting asylum seekers without hearings? Illegal. Sending people to third countries that don't recognize them? Illegal. Holding civil detainees in solitary confinement for weeks at a time? Illegal. Medically abusing female detainees with unnecessary surgeries? That's illegal, that's criminal, that's barbaric. ICE detention facilities are the new Guantanamos for the domestic empire. These are the Amazon warehouses of captured human beings. The expansion of for-profit detention centers and privatized deportation logistics. This shows you the hollowing out of the state, and that's a key marker of late-stage neoliberal decline. The state is no longer the enforcer of the law. Understand? It's the broker of violence outsourced to private capital. That parallels the historic decline of other empires that began to mercenize their security apparatuses just like Rome did before the collapse. The state becomes just a brand, not a body politic. Deploying military forces domestically against low-risk civilian populations, let's be honest. Migrants, families, children, and so forth. That signals the securitization of social management. That's nothing but a hallmark of unstable regimes. It shows that the ruling class, as we all know, sees its own population, or anyway segments of its own population, as the primary threat. When the United Nations human rights experts call the immigration policies in your country illegal, when you deport people to third countries without hearings, when your detention facilities are described in UN reports as sites of torture, sites of inhumane treatment, you've lost all normative power globally. Nobody respects you. Your whole brand is tarnished. The United States can never again call itself the beacon of liberty, except that everyone in the world will roll their eyes, or they'll laugh at the sarcasm. It's increasingly seen as a rogue actor. It selectively adheres to international law only when it suits their own power, their own agenda. Well, that undermines even U.S. soft power, and it isolates America diplomatically, which you don't even think is that important, but that is a significant erosion of civilizational leadership. They're doing nothing but set up the architecture of authoritarian control. That's what they're doing. This is pre-fascist legal architecture that they're setting up. Once that system is normalized, and they've normalized extrajudicial detention, indefinite holding without trial, arbitrary deportations, well, they've got all the tools they need. And they can apply those then to journalists, to protesters, to union leaders, to political dissidents, etc., etc., etc. And they will be used that way. That's how authoritarian regimes consolidate power and control. Not by overnight coups, but by the slow normalization of what begins as exceptional measures. Because what did I just tell you? The private sector is authoritarian. And you all know it by your own work experience. The private sector is authoritarian. The private sector has now conquered and captured your government. Congress is nothing but the customer service desk for the Fortune 500. The presidency is just a brand ambassadorship. The Supreme Court is nothing but a dispute resolution hotline. So there's no way for your society to go now, except towards stricter and stricter authoritarianism. No, America is not stable. All of its coercive organs are being decoupled from law and being fused to profit. They're going to eat you to the bone. We're watching a case study in advanced private sector state capture. It's the state being repurposed to serve financial interests. Specifically, in this case, those who profit from incarceration, from deportation, from surveillance, from human disposability. And the legal framework of immigration has now been converted into literally a revenue stream. Every enforcement action connected to immigration, even not just immigration, arrest, detention, removal, this isn't just a state act anymore. It's a billable event. You understand? That means the corporations now have a vested interest in shaping immigration policy, just to expand the market for more detention and more deportation. But you have to understand, what is being captured is not just policy. It's the moral function of law itself in your country. I mean, the cynicism is breathtaking. Law now just becomes a delivery mechanism for corporate profits. I mean, when the system is like this, think about it. The more harm, the more profit. Overcrowding, delayed or denied medical care, lack of translators, for example, lengthy detentions, all of this increases their margins. Denial of basic rights just lowers their overhead. Geo Group gets paid by the head per day. So releasing detainees just hurts their revenue. Respecting rights, that's financially inefficient. Meaning, violating human dignity is now incentivized by the business model itself. Let that sink in. The state has not failed to regulate this. This is how they regulated it. Do you understand me? See, deregulation is still regulation, but it is the state regulating its own authority out of the affairs of business. It's the state regulating its own abdication of authority in favor of business. The Trump administration shut down DHS oversight offices that investigated abuses that took place in ICE custody. Why? Because oversight impedes profit. And in America, the state has no right to do that. The state has no right to interfere in profit making. That's the final stage of private sector capture. When the captured institution itself begins to dismantle its own power in complete capitulation and submission to capital. You're conquered. You're captured. You're defeated. You are subordinate as a country. Understand this. This isn't just corruption. Capture is more than corruption. It's much more than corruption. The state no longer holds the monopoly on so-called legitimate violence. It's just the broker of outsourced violence. The elected government is no longer accountable to the people. If it ever was, it's only accountable to shareholders. There's no longer a democracy by any definition in the United States. It's a cartelized corporate security regime, just draped in constitutional vocabulary. I'm telling you, ICE is a model for post-state governance. This isn't just a case of privatization, no. This is the template for how captured states are going to govern in the 21st century. Identify a social threat, immigrants, protesters, dissidents, what have you. Monetize their containment, outsource the enforcement, eliminate transparency, and then justify everything with security. And funnel all the proceeds to shareholders. What you're seeing is the transition from public governance to corporate dominion, as clear as day. Like I said, ICE is just the prototype, but education, health, policing, even war, it's already begun the same transformation inside the United States. And that more than anything else tells you that America is not in control of America. It's being operated by those who build the state to brutalize the population in America. That's who controls America. And that's capture. That's capture consummated. And what are you doing about it? If you're not resisting, you're colluding. If you're not protecting those who are being targeted, then you're just rehearsing to play the same role of everyone who's going to ignore you when you get targeted next. You know, if you're not trying to shut down the machinery of this abuse and oppression, then you're just standing in line waiting for when it's your turn to be abused and oppressed. I mean, let me speak plainly. If we're talking about what's going on in California, for example, well, obviously the moral high ground belongs to the resistors. Obviously the moral high ground belongs to those who are hiding undocumented families. Obviously. All the neighbors who are forming human chains around ICE vans, you know, students who are exposing the abuse of ICE, lawyers who are fighting in court, obviously they have the moral high ground. Any citizens who are trying to pull funding from those deportation airlines, you want to ask, is this legal? You should be asking, is it just? Because legality is always the last refuge of tyranny. They will always find some kind of law, anyway they write the laws, to justify their crimes. And then they'll just say they're following orders. We don't know that. That's what every regime in history did that needed to have a Nuremberg trial. No, ICE is the modern-day Gestapo of a privatized police state. It doesn't exist to protect the people. It exists to protect the corporate order from the people. It's an agency of fear, an agency of separation, of erasure. And I'm telling you again, they are marauders, and you are their loot. And unless you resist, and I'm not telling you what form your resistance should take, that's up to you, but it should exist. Because the structure that you tolerate today is the structure that you're going to be buried under in the future. Well, look at California right now. Look at Los Angeles. What else do you think that is, besides violent colonization turning inward? You think this is about immigration law? You think ICE is enforcing laws?
Sorry, y'all. Did y'all catch me napping? I ain't going to try to play it all, man. Hell yeah. It's getting a little warm out here, but did y'all hear everything he said, man? Did y'all hear everything he said? All right. I told y'all He just said the same thing I said. You cattle. All right? He just didn't put out there why. I gave you that. But this is how they're able to do it. This is how they're able to trample their rights. Because when you're illegal, and when you're legal, you're illegal. They don't know they signed their shit away when they booyah'd up. All right? Now, let me get a passage from Revelations 18. This is why America got to burn. All right? We'll start at verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. See, Most High getting ready to torch and burn America in due time. But he's telling his people to come out of her. But he had to have a people to talk to come out of her. And no one ain't no damn Christians. They part of the damn problem. Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the power have remembered her iniquity. See, the Most High has remembered all the wickedness that America's done. This is why all this is happening. Verse 6. Reward her as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. And the cup which she filled to fill her, which she had filled to her double. How much she have glorified herself, and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she have in her heart, said in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. Verse 9. And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. For the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of the most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil, fine flour, wheat, beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. All right. So, the souls of men, he put that right at the end of the precept. All right. What are they doing now? They're trafficking humans now. Look at verse 14. And the fruits that thy soul shall lust after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen, and purple, and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones, and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster, and all the company in the ships, and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried, when they saw the smoke of the burning, what city is like unto this great city? And they shall cast dust upon their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is thy desolation. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye apostles and prophets, For the power have avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea. Thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more. And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. See, so he's getting ready to when the time comes to destroy this place, but not yet. All right, we still got some things that have to be accomplished. Now, pursuant to Daniel chapter 12, all right, it says that there's going to be a time of trouble. Now, I know that's going to come after the northern kingdom. See, he just told you, everybody, they're not doing this for just them. They finna get everybody. This elite upper class thinks they finna get another slave class of people. All right. But they can't touch us. The Most High has already said they can't touch us. So what are they doing now? They're collecting. They're trying to get their policies and things in place, right? That's what they're trying to do. And once they get that going, all right, this is where the chip is going to come from. All right. The chip is going to come from people not being able to fight back and then forcing you to take it and enter into the beast system. All right. And they're going to eventually do that to us. They're going to try to get us to comply. Now, what is the remedy for that? Let's go to Micah. Might as well start at verse 1. Micah chapter 4, verse 1. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, let us go up to the house, to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. For all people will walk everyone in the name of his power, and in the name of the Lord power forever. And in that day, saith the Lord, I will assemble her that halteth, and will gather her that is driven out, and her that I have afflicted. And I will make her that halteth a remnant, and her that was cast afar off a strong nation. And the Lord shall reign over them in Mount Zion, from henceforth even forever. And thou, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, unto thee shall it come, the first dominion. The kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem. Now, why dost thou cry out aloud? Is there no king in thee? Is thy counselor perished? For pains have taken thee, as a woman in travail. Be in pain and labor, to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shall you be delivered. The Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thy enemies. Well, we already in Babylon, all right? Now also many nations are gathered against thee, that say, Let her be defiled. Let our eye look upon Zion. Well, they've been doing that. They've been looking upon us. They've been saying, let her be defiled. That's why I told y'all we've been getting, picked with and fucked with by all of these nations. It didn't just start. Northern kingdom, y'all one of them. Y'all one of them. All right. Look what he says about us. But they know not the thoughts of the Lord, neither understand they his counsel. For they shall gather them as sheaves on the floor. Verse 13. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make your horn iron, and I will make your hoofs brass, and you shall beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto the Lord, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. So, once they get all of this rounding up done, all right, once they get all of that done, and they're going to be looking for a new slave class. So they're going to try to rewind, and they're going to come after Zion. That's us. And because the Most High is obligated to help us and defend us, he's going to turn us up to where we're going to be able to defend ourselves. All right, let me get into the precept. This is Zechariah 12, verse start at verse 6. In that day I will make the governors of Judah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheet. And they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. Verse 7. The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. All right. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as the power, and as the power the angel of the Lord before them. See, so he's going to equip us to be able to defend and protect ourselves. That's what we're waiting on. And when he says he's going to save the tents of Judah first, that means up to and including us being transformed into the military that's going to be able to defend us against all enemies. Okay, so that's why we're not worried about it. We know what's coming. We got a brotherhood that's been studying and learning and spiritually and mentally training all of these years. No physical training, no swinging and getting sprayed with mace at the park, just building ourselves up spiritually. Because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. All right. We've been imparting and ingraining everything of these scriptures into our spirits and souls so that we know, all right, why we're fighting. And that's important. Let me take it back to Micah chapter where's it at? Zechariah chapter 12, verse 5. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and the Lord of hosts their power. These men can't say that in their heart if they haven't been studying and reading and reinforcing why we got to do what we have to do when the time comes. You ain't going to get that without studying and meditating and putting this deep down in your spirit that we'll never be in slavery again, and we're going to uphold the Most High's righteous standards in this earth. That's the only way to do it. It ain't time for physical training now. It ain't time to be running around the block and swinging at no damn park. It's time to be meditating and to be putting this truth in us so deep that when he does turn us up, we got a reason to fight and keep fighting throughout all eternity. So that's what this is for. All right. So when he turns us up, he ain't turning nobody else up. Northern Kingdom gonna still be the way they are, so that they don't magnify themselves against us. Who is us? The ones that have been studying, learning, meditating, praying, suffering for this throne. All right. So this is how it gotta be, and this is the reason why. Right. And this is why things are happening the way they are now. So I pray that this video was edification for you, and I pray that you were edified. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clip this video. Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Mashiach Yahushai. Peace and power to the Father of lights and his beloved Son. Peace, power, and blessings to the throne, to the sons and daughters and the elect of Israel. This your King and Shepherd KD, and I will see y'all on the next go round. KD out. Shalom.